All of our new features are carefully considered, planned, and designed to ensure we're meeting the needs of our users most effectively. Our UX UI designer, Ashley Bergstrom, is here to share a bit about how we approach design strategy, and we'll show you some of the additional roadmap items in the design stage. Ashley?
Hello. Hi. Hello, my name is Ashley Nicole Bergstrom. I'm the user experience and user interface designer here at BIS Library. So I'm kind of curious, how many of y'all know what user experience is? Just by a show of hands. Cool. And how many of y'all know what user interface design is? Nice, okay. Well, for those of y'all that don't know, user experience is focused on the functional aspect of design, and user interface is the look and feel of the design. UX and UI design revolves around the user, which most of you are. That being said, I'd like to take a moment to thank our guests today that have provided feedback either through the idea portal or various surveys that we've sent out. Your comments are greatly appreciated. Please keep in mind that the designs I share with you today are concepts. That being said, I would love to get your feedback at the end of this presentation. So, recently I've been studying analytics for where our users spend most of their time within our platform. The most common behavior flow that I've found is from the homepage to the content profile, back to the homepage, and again to another content profile. Just crazy, right? With that in mind, we are critically evaluating both of these pages to identify ways that make them even more intuitive. Let's dig deeper into the homepage. Now, I've been examining the learner homepage and have conducted studies that target 5 main points for our users: how users interact, what is valued, what is desired, and how much control admins want over what the learners see. From these findings, I've been exploring different use cases to better understand the best strategy for this key page. The first use case involves prescriptive learning. Prescriptive learning is a very directive approach. It's ideal for administrators that prefer to provide their learner with specific tasks. An example of this would be an administrator choosing a particular content and assigning that content to their learners to complete. So by show of hands, how many of y'all currently use prescriptive learning? Awesome. The second use case targets exploratory learning. Exploratory learning combines the direct instruction with exploratory methods. So you're allowing the user to explore content that they're interested in based on direction that you point them to. An example of this would be if an admin instructed their learners to watch a minimum of 5 videos having to do with their job role. This approach promotes individual professional development and encourages social learning strategies by promoting components like community and gamification. By show of hands, how many of y'all use exploratory learning? Sweet, it's about half and half. Now we understand that organizations have many different goals for their learners. So after researching, we are considering moving forward with a more hybrid approach. This approach addresses both learning styles and is configurable by the administrator, so the administrators can tailor an experience for their organization. This is the concept of the hybrid approach. The main navigation is laid out at the top of the page, so it's easily accessible. The home page will showcase content that the administrator will have the ability to configure. Content such as continued learning, featured, popular at your organization, my playlist, and more. We're also considering a slide out panel, which would always be open when you first log in. It'd be customizable, so you can choose what you'd like shown in your organization sidebar from a selection of items, such as news items, notifications, calendar, community updates, gamification highlights, and more. The calendar would also include a learner's training schedule, events, assignments, and upcoming tasks, thus always keeping your learners up to date. This panel would be accessible here at the top menu, wherever you go as a learner, visible on the right-hand side. So envision the side panel as a global element that would provide the users with an easy, at-a-glance way to check their training schedule, assignments, and more, but can also get out of the way whenever they're participating in a learning activity. Like on this updated content profile page, which is another key area that we're focusing on. Now, we have conducted studies about the content profile to understand how frequently our users visit content, how often they return to previously viewed content, why they choose to do so, how our users interact with the interface, and if they're interested in enhancements that we're considering. Based on the feedback that we gathered, I have created this concept. To make this experience more user-friendly, I've arranged items and grouped them based on similarity. Now, you may have noticed that throughout the platform, our standard convention is to provide action items to the right. So bringing this page in line with that adds consistency and a more familiar feel. Anything in direct relation to the content is arranged in tab view, directly under the video player, giving a more organized way to flip through and interact with the content's information. Now, these are all the concepts I have to share with you today. Now I'd like to share the design process with you. I firmly believe that the quality of design lies as much in the steps taken to create as in the final result of conception, which means that the process is very important to ensure good quality design. I also believe that nothing is impossible, it's just a matter of figuring out how, and that starts with empathy. To identify the problem, I do my best to listen and understand who's voicing the concern. Once I have a grasp on how someone feels, I turn into Sherlock and I investigate. Then, when I've identified an end goal, I ideate, and once I've come up with an idea, I start to develop a prototype and conduct tests. Based on the feedback of these tests, a design can either be implemented or it would go back a few steps and repeat. So as you can see, y'all are a major part of the design process, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us and helps us design a better experience for you overall. I'm going to give it back to Angela now. Thank you.